In the 2017 NFL season, the Jaguars had success that we hadn't been used to for over 10 years. We actually went all the way to the AFC Championship game and fell just short of the Super Bowl. So once April came around, we were in a situation that was extremely unfamiliar with us, and we were drafting at 29 overall. Well, 2018, we reverted to the same old Jaguars, and while we weren't drafting in the top 5, we are now in the top 10 at number 7 overall. So the big topic of conversation, pretty much the whole entire 2019 offseason, and really after free agency happens once you shore up some needs, is what are the Jaguars going to do with the number 7 overall pick? And really, there's not many positions that are really off the board. We can do a bunch of different things, and in this video, we're going to discuss what the Jaguars can potentially do at number 7. Now, most everybody thinks that the Jaguars are going to go offense, but there's a chance that we don't go offense. And if we don't go offense, there's really only one unit that we could potentially grab, and that is defensive line. And of all times where there is a deep defensive lineman class, of course it has to come in a year where the Jaguars are pretty loaded at defensive line. The Jaguars are that's probably their strong unit is a defensive line. And you could potentially have 6 or 7 defensive linemen drafted in the top 10 of this draft. I mean, you have guys like Quinnen Williams, Nick Bosa, Josh Allen, Rashawn Gary, Ed Oliver, Montez Sweat, Brian Burns, and there's really all kinds of defensive linemen that are going to be available. Now, by the time the Jaguars drafting, I'm pretty sure Quinnen Williams, Nick Bosa, and Josh Allen will all be gone. So it kind of leaves us with some of these other guys. And when you look at the Jaguars situation, while we are very good at defensive line, we also have a very expensive defensive line. When you look at some of the star players, Yannick Ngakoue, he's still on his rookie contract, but he is entering the final year of that, so he's going to be very expensive and a very high-priced re-signing once we give him a new deal. Calais Campbell's on a big deal. Marcel Darius, Avery Jones in the interior, they're also on pretty significant deals. And we do have some cheap players that we did draft recently. Now, there's former third-round pick in the 2017 NFL draft with DeJuan Smoot, and also our first-round pick in 2018 with Taven Bryan. But with these guys, I don't think that we're necessarily comfortable enough to say, okay, we are set at this position. We can, go ahead and rely on these guys going forward, and those are going to be our guys. It's not necessarily there. Now, Taven Bryan, I think he's going to do a lot better once he moves into the defensive tackle 3-technique spot, as opposed to last season where he was playing a significant role at the strong side defensive end, really backing up Calais Campbell. And DeJuan Smoot, the first half of the 2018 season, he was a healthy scratch as Dante Fowler was on the team, but once he got traded away, he really got his moment, and he was in there. He had some good games. He played pretty well against the Colts, but really, it kind of leaves a lot to be desired, and he's going into a big season where, he's at risk of kind of losing a roster spot. So, with these guys, you're not completely comfortable with him, and it could leave the door open for the Jaguars to maybe get like a Rashawn Gary, Ed Oliver, like Montez Sweat, and we'll see with that. Now, all these guys, I think, are kind of project players. I don't think all these guys are guaranteed to be great. I think the only guys that are kind of guaranteed to be great are Quinnen Williams, Nick Bosa, and Josh Allen. If Josh Allen is somehow there, he's more of a 3-4 outside linebacker kind of spot, kind of like how Dante Fowler Jr. was on a team. Like when we had Dante Fowler, it was really obvious that he wasn't in the right defense for really his skill set. He always looked more like a 3-4 outside linebacker, and now we see with him on the Rams, he is a lot better in that role, but we'll see with defensive line. I honestly don't think that the Jaguars will draft defensive line, but that option is always open. And you look at other positions on the defensive side. At linebacker, there's really only 2 guys that could be good for that number 7 spot, and that is Devin White and Devin Bush. Now, with these guys, I don't see the Jaguars drafting linebacker. If they do draft a linebacker, it would probably be Devin White. And if they draft Devin White, then I would see us probably moving Telvin Smith. Telvin Smith probably had his worst year as a Jaguar in 2018. He was being picked on a lot when it comes to teams trying to pass against us, and he just wasn't very good. And, it'd be a situation where they'd probably do that. They'd move Miles Jack over to the Will linebacker spot, and then maybe put Devin White at the Mike spot. So, but I don't see the Jaguars drafting a linebacker. I don't think a linebacker is worth that number 7 spot, for the way we want to do things. And, I think Telvin Smith and Miles Jack will be able to lock down those 2 linebacker spots. So there's also defensive backs. There's nobody worth a top 10 pick at defensive back. We have 3 good cornerbacks with Jalen Ramsey, A.J. Boye, and D.J. Hayden. He actually had a pretty good year when he wasn't dealing with turf toe. So that's with that. There's no safety either, so we're not going to be drafting a defensive back, I wouldn't assume. And, that kind of recaps the defense. Now we're going to move to more of the exciting side, and that's the offense. The offense, really, there's no position that's really off that's you can really call out besides maybe running back. Now, when you look at it, the quarterback position. Now, there's really only 2 quarterbacks worth a first-round pick to me, and that is Kyler Murray and Dwayne Haskins. After the NFL Combine and stuff like that, everyone was telling us to pretty much pencil in the Kyler Murray to be number 1 to the Cardinals, so that's probably going to happen there. And it'll be an interesting situation to see if Dwayne Haskins is there at number 7. If he is, then I don't think the Jaguars will draft him just because I think they're going to put a lot of trust in Nick Foles. They gave him a 4-year deal, gave him a lot of money, and the Jaguars front office, they want to win now. And Dwayne Haskins isn't a win now move. I tend to hope that he does get drafted maybe to the Giants because I think Dwayne Haskins is going to be good, and I don't want to be in a situation where 4 years from now we say, hey, remember the 2019 draft? We could have got Dwayne Haskins if we wanted to. I don't want to be in that kind of situation. Now, if he is there at number 7, it could be a potential trade back opportunity for us because, I see that when it comes to trading up, like quarterbacks are the kind of position that teams want to trade up for. I'd say probably over half of the trades in the NFL draft are probably, trades in the first round are probably moving up to get quarterbacks. So we'll see with that, but I don't see Dwayne Haskins being picked by the Jaguars, even though the Jaguars have done a lot of homework on him, gone to a lot of games with his pro days, all that stuff. So I think they like him as a prospect, but with us getting Nick Foles, I think they kind of rule that out. Running back, Josh Jacobs is a top running back, but there's a good chance that no running backs go in the top first round of the draft. And the running back position is definitely a need for the Jaguars because, you have Leonard Fournette, but the running back 2 position is going to be right now, all you have is Thomas Rawls, Dave Williams, and Dimitri Flowers. So that's an obvious need for the Jaguars, but, they'll probably address that in rounds 2 to 4 to get that third down running back 2 type of role. So rule out running back. Now, the interesting spot is the tight end spot, because there's a lot of speculation, is tight end worth a number 7 overall pick? I'm more about the argument that maybe we shouldn't draft a tight end at number 7 just because there's a plethora of good tight ends in this draft, probably one of the best tight end drafts in NFL history, and you could say that, look, we can get a good tight end in rounds 2, 3, 4, whatever. But tight end is a huge need for the Jaguars. We kind of got some cheap free agents in, free agency, but other than that, we really don't have much there. So to get a guy like, I love TJ Hawkinson. He's kind of my draft crush right now. I mean, he's a guy that can help you out tremendously in the run game. That's one of my favorite things about him. When you see him on tape, this dude is taking defensive ends and linebackers and pushing them 10 yards past the line of scrimmage. He finishes on his blocks. He's a blue-collar guy from a tight end university out there in Iowa. He can take people to the second level, but he's also really good in the pass game. He can run past linebackers. He can catch contested balls where he's double-teamed. He can really high-point balls. He can outstretch and catch these things. And, man, I think he's a special receiver and a run blocker, and especially for our team. With our team right now, I'm really not comfortable with any of our tackles. Obviously our right tackle spot is a hole right now as we cut Jeremy Parnell, and right now Will Richardson is kind of there, a 4th round pick from 2018, but we haven't seen him play at all. And with a tight end, if one reason why we had the number 1 rushing attack in 2017 is because Mercedes Lewis helped out big time with that. He can go in there and help chip for different tight end or different tackles when you're weak at that position. And, while we have a hole at right tackle, also left tackle, Cam Robinson, I think he's still a question mark. Obviously, he got injured. He tore his ACL the second week of the season last year. And really, in 2018, he was struggling through preseason. Through training camp, he came in out of shape, and he really wasn't all that great. So hopefully, he can come back better, but I'm still not comfortable with the left tackle spot. And, having a good tight end like that, they can help the run game. They can help provide options for those guys when it comes to being able to help out with chipping defensive ends and whatnot. And really, with this position, we need to come up with a good tight end. We really do. And getting an explosive guy that can not only is great in the passing game, but also is not a run game liability, I think it'd be huge. And really, Hawkinson and Noah Fant are probably going to be going in the first round. And I worry that if you wait till the second round, once you get to the 20s, there's going to be a run on tight ends. Maybe Noah Fant goes, maybe Irv Smith, Caden Smith, these guys go. And really, Hawkinson, I think, is a surefire guy. Next up, we kind of move on to the wide receiver position. Now, I don't think wide receiver is a huge hole for the Jaguars. I think we have some good wide receivers, but I think our wide receiver group is missing a special wide receiver. And by special, just a number one wide receiver, a guy that's going to command double teams, a guy that is safety is going to move over for to help kind of protect. And really, the guy that everyone looks at is DK Metcalf. And DK Metcalf, he's a high reward but a high bust type of situation. And, with him, obviously, he's special when it comes to a physical specimen. We all saw what he did at the combine. We all see he's got freaky physical size. But he wasn't even the most productive wide receiver on Ole Miss. I mean, A.J. Brown was more productive. But, I've watched a breakdown of him through Brett Coleman. He did a breakdown on him where, I'll put the link in the banner up there. But, he kind of compared him to Calvin Johnson when it comes to him. Like, Calvin Johnson was very similar, where he didn't really have as much of a route tree in college, didn't do as well in a three-cone drill or everything. But obviously, he was a dominating wide receiver in the NFL. And, one of Nick Foles' best traits is to be able to drop back and just throw it up to a spot where only that wide receiver or receiving option is going to be able to run under it. And with DK Metcalf, man, like he can outrun some of these guys. He can beat out press coverage, and he'll be able to win 50-50 balls. But obviously, one thing that comes to concern is like injury history. Obviously, being that big, you're kind of more you're more able to get injured for whatever reason. And also his limited route tree, but, he's also a guy that kind of played through bad quarterbacks, and, he wasn't used to the best of his potential when it comes to using him on a screen game and, the deep ball game. So really with DK Metcalf, man, if he could be a special wide receiver, that'd be awesome, but he's such a risk, and we'd really have to wait and see with him, but he's definitely an attractive option. So next up, offensive tackle. Now, there's a few different offensive tackles that are being projected to the Jaguars, especially at that right tackle spot. With guys like the most popular guy in mock drafts right now is people putting Jawan Taylor, the right tackle from Florida, to be mocked to us at 7. There's also guys that will be available like Jonah Williams and Cody Ford. But it's so tough with the right tackles just because I'd rather like a surefire guy. While right tackle is a hole for us, I think you can wait till the second, third round to get a guy. I don't think really any of the tackles in this draft are all that special to me. You don't have like a Quentin Nelson where they're surefire and they can do work. I mean, you can find power right tackles anywhere, and I would just, with me and the number 7 pick, I'm definitely leaning toward T.J. Hawkinson. If we don't get a trade down situation, I think the ideal spot is if we were in a trade down situation, if Dwayne Haskins is available, maybe trade down to number 10 to get to the Denver Broncos and do that. But, while they get Dwayne Haskins, but it's so hard. Trading down in drafts are so much easier said than done. So you have to have the perfect partner. You have to have the perfect trade options. And That's just my opinion on it. But, right now I'm definitely leaning more toward TJ Hawkinson just because I think he'd fit our offense perfectly. It'd fill a hole perfectly, and I think he'd help out in our run game. He's a blue-collar guy and also help out in the pass game as he's, I think very good in that too. So those are some options for the Jaguars at number 7. Definitely let me know who you guys would want the Jaguars to draft at number 7 in this year's draft. And thank you guys all so much for watching. Please drop a like and subscribe to the channel if y'all haven't already. And I'll see you guys in my next video.